Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to the Game of Fortune. We are still in the middle of our mystery game where someone's the traitor and all of that. This is going to be a long one, I think, this game, so let's get back into it, because at the moment all four of us are still alive, and we don't really have any idea who the traitor is at this stage. Everyone's pointing at Zeph, so it's probably not him. Yeah, the faster we get this over with, the better. We continued our search on some other rooms nearby. As luck would have it, I eventually found a mixing bowl hidden underneath a bed. Hey, I think I found it. Kishi rushed over toward me, excited by my latest find. Ah, so this is it then. She looked at the bowl and the brush as if she'd found some kind of national treasure. Damn, this room is pretty far from where you and Zeph went in round 1, right? Yeah, it's a fair bit away. That means whoever used this probably wouldn't have had the time to paint the words and then run all the way back here in 4 minutes or less. Not that it's impossible. It sure as hell would have been hard. Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case. I wonder if... What the fuck? Zeph? That was definitely Zeph, and it sounded like a bunch of other stuff fell too. Or maybe he fell. Where do you think it came from? I don't know, but it can't be far, right? Well, Zeph can project his voice pretty damn loudly when he wants to. But let's look for him, shouldn't be hard. We left the room and searched around calling for Zeph. Eventually we found him face down at the bottom of the stairs near the foyer. Zeph, you okay? We both quickly rushed over to him. Hey, come on, champ, wake up. What the... Ow. He was slow to get up, but his face was bruised and slightly swollen. What happened? And where's Richard? You two were supposed to be searching together. I don't know, we were both investigating the study upstairs, and just as we were leaving, the guy clocked me in the face with some heavy-ass book. I couldn't hold my ground, and he kept hitting me over and over again until we got to the stairs and he just shoved me down. Goddamn, I'm lucky I didn't break anything going down. Well, at least you're alive. Richard attacked you? Why would he do that? You think I know? I don't even know what the heck he'd hit me for. It's not like we found anything. You said he was upstairs by the study, right? Devon, do you know the way? Yeah, but isn't he going to attack us if we approach him? The guy's a fucking nutcase, he'll probably try and kill you. No, he won't. Not if he knows what's good for him. If he kills any of us, then he'd die. The rules say you can't cause someone to be unable to speak their symbol, right? Being dead seems like it would get in the way of that. But Kishi, I don't want you taking that risk. Risk? There's no risk. If he kills me, he'll die. And he's probably the traitor. Then I'll be brought back and everything will be fine. Zeph quietly conceded the point. You ready to go, Devon? Yeah, let's figure this shit out. We rushed upstairs to the study. Zeph was holding on to Kishi as we approached the door. Hey, you don't need to latch onto me like we're doing the Congo. And watch the collar. I don't want Belle exploding my head off because I got slapped or something. Sorry, I just have a really bad sense of balance right now. Zeph backed up a bit and leaned against the nearby wall. Kishi reached for the door handle and swung the door open. And immediately jumped back as Richard swung a hefty book in her direction. Richard, what the fuck? Oh, sorry, I thought you were Zeph. So you did attack Zeph? What, he attacked me first? He hit me right in the back of the head. Bullshit, I didn't hit him. Zeph shouted a fair bit away. I have the wound to prove it. Richard turned around and showed a sizable bruise on the back of his head. I almost blacked out, which, mind you, Zeph, would have probably gotten you killed. You probably just bashed your head against one of the bookcases or something. Okay, hold on. You're gonna have to tell me what's going on here. Who attacked who first? He attacked me first. This arsehole struck me first. You know what? I should have expected this. Let me try this another way. I already heard your story, Zeph, so I want to hear Richard's now. Tell me what happened. Well, Zeph and I were searching the rooms up here, and after a while we entered into the study. Everything seemed fine. Zeph and I even told one another our symbols. Then all of a sudden I felt this heavy blow to the back of my head, and Zeph is wailing on me with a book. I had to endure a few hits before I could even strike back. I just flailed around, really, randomly punching, and I guess I hit him eventually. Then he just backed off, but I didn't trust that he wouldn't come back to attack me again, so I grabbed a book and got ready for when he came back, which he did, after telling some obviously fake story about how he's the victim in all this. If you didn't get the drop on me earlier, I would have beaten your ass easily. You literally did. It's only a miracle, or maybe a deliberate choice, that you didn't go harder on your beatdown, probably because you're the traitor and didn't want to die. You're obviously the traitor. Clearly you're the one who set up the fake paint and decided to try and kill me to keep me quiet about my suspicions. You realize how stupid you sound? Why would I want to kill you in a fight? I would just die. If I was the traitor, I would kill you with a book. I wouldn't kill you with a book of fists. I'd just lie to you about your symbol. which again would just make me look suspicious and untrustworthy. Well, ask them what they think their symbols are, because he said they've already told each other their symbols. If they line up, then we're alright, and if they don't line up, the one who told the other one the wrong one is the traitor. Exactly. That's what you want us to think. This isn't reverse psychology. Again, something you want us to think. For the love of God, can you two stop shouting? I can barely hear myself think. Attention everyone, the round will end in 4 minutes. Please enter into a room, lock the door, and announce your symbol. Oh, for the love of... perfect fucking timing. Sheesh. Hold on, before we go to our separate rooms, I want to confirm on my symbol. I don't trust what Zeph told me was the truth. Same here, I don't think Richard told me the truth either. Why would I willingly lie to you knowing that it would out me as the traitor? I don't know, why would I lie to you about yours? That's... enough bickering. Zeph, let me see what your symbol is. Devon, you can do Richard's. I want them to tell us what they think it is first. Alright. I looked over Richard's collar. He had the infinity symbol. It's the infinity symbol. Huh, so he didn't lie after all. Told you. Zeph, yours is the halo symbol. Fucking knew it. What? No, that can't be right. It was an infinity symbol. I know that's what it was. It's definitely a halo. See, now he's trying to save face. Bastard knew he was going to get caught. I'm telling you, it was definitely an infinity symbol. I'm not lying. I looked over Zeph's collar to make sure this wasn't some kind of weird setup. But it really was a halo. It's a halo for sure. Maybe you just saw it differently. No, I'm not misremembering. I know it was an infinity symbol. But you can tell yourself that until you're blue in the face. It's obvious who our traitor is now. I'm not... We can figure this out after we announce our symbols. Don't get yourselves killed just by arguing over something like this. Fine. Richard looked downright furious and utterly confused. But the evidence was right there. There was no denying that Zeph had the halo symbol. So then why does he seem so certain that he saw a different symbol? Is he lying? Confused? Is there some trick at play here? I mean, Belle said she could change the symbol whenever she wanted, right? What about everything else? The fight, the blood letters, the location of the bowl and brush? I feel like if I don't figure all this out, something bad is going to happen. But I can't think here. I'll collect my thoughts in a nearby room. Let's try and enter a room near here. We can figure this all out once we announce our symbols. That sounds good. With an uneasy tension in the air, we entered into a nearby room. I want someone else to confirm our symbol. Because Kishi could have lied to us. Luckily for me, there seemed to be a similar study nearby. Not that it mattered what kind of room, as long as it had the door locked. Which it did, and I was quick to get right to business. My symbol is the skull. Well, nothing happened, so I was probably safe to continue. Now on to the pressing matters. What the hell is going on? I feel like so much has happened. Well, honestly, not much has, but let's recap. Everything that was weird began right after the first round. I found bloody words on the floor and walls. We talked and determined the traitor was the person that probably wrote those words, and we found evidence of the fake blood being made. So the question is, who made it, and are they the traitor? Let's go step by step. Zeph, Kishi, and I were the only ones who took a room on the first floor, or at least that's what everyone's claiming. Out of everyone I only saw Zeph actually enter a room. The others could be lying. But even if the others are lying about what rooms they were in, it would be hard for them to know what room I was in. Unless Zeph's telling the truth and someone was following us so they could write a fake blood message. But wouldn't I notice something like that? If someone was trying to sneak by me, or was I really just out of it? There's also the issue that whoever did end up writing those bloody words probably was in a hurry. They'd need to paint it, then hide the bowl and get into a room in less than 4 minutes. That seemed the most likely to be Zeph, considering that he knew where my room was, and he was quite literally across from it. If Kishi's telling the truth, it'd be quite a trip from the bar to our room. It wouldn't be impossible, but it sure would be cutting it close. And this is assuming she knew where we were when the announcement played. Richard seems the least likely. He'd have the furthest to travel, going from the first floor to the second floor and then making it back to the study would require impressive speed. Though he is a painter, so maybe he could do the painting part quickly, but again, he'd have to know where Zeph and I were going to room, and then put that plan into action right as we closed the doors. Combine all that with the fact that the culprit had to have had the time, to make the fake blood in the first place. Zeph claims he wasn't in the kitchen the entire first round, but that's hard to prove. No one can corroborate his alibi, but I do know that Kishi and Richard spent some time in the bar and study respectively. Though it is possible that they may have entered the kitchen, made the fake blood, and then left with it before the round ended. They would have used the same mixing bowl set that Zeph used when he was making sugar cookies as well, as a basting brush. We found those in a room somewhere far away from the room on the first floor. By that time, we were already in new searching pairs. Richard and Zeph were upstairs, and Kishi and I checked the first floor. So the bowl and brush had been hidden away before we all met up in the foyer. Zeph went to get the cookies out of the oven right after the first round ended, so it could have definitely been him hiding them. Kishi was also alone on the first floor after the round ended, so it's plausible she could have moved them too. Richard came from upstairs, so it's unlikely he was the one that hid them, unless he hid them before he went to the study upstairs. Alright, that should be just about everything after the first round, but before the whole fight incident, continuing from there, Zeph claims that Richard attacked him in the study and continued to attack him until he got pushed down the stairs. Kishi and I heard him falling and found him soon after that. He definitely had some bad wounds on the front of his face that could have been caused by a fight. Richard, on the other hand, claims that Zeph attacked him and randomly in the study, and after a few hits, Zeph ran out of the room, leaving Richard fearful and preparing for a counterattack in the study. He has wounds on the back of his head, indicating that he was indeed attacked in the back of the head. But they can't both be telling the truth here. One of them has to be lying. One of them had to have attacked first, and the other must have faked their injuries somehow. But which one? And really, what is the point of all of it? There doesn't seem to be any use in wanting to fight. It just gets eyes on you and makes you look suspicious, and frankly, might end up getting you killed. Kishi and I could easily just condemn both of them to death, thinking that at least one of them is the traitor. But is that the case? What if Kishi is the traitor, and she wanted this outcome? And that can't be right. Kishi wasn't anywhere near Richard or Zeph before they had their fight. There's no way she could influence that sort of thing. Unless she told Zeph to attack Richard, but that doesn't make any sense. And again, there wasn't really any opportunity for them to collaborate. Actually, that's not true. They could have met up right after the first round ended, before we all met up in the foyer. But again, Kishi gains nothing from asking Zeph to fight Richard. If she's a traitor, that looks super suspicious, and Zeph would have a reason to suspect Kishi. Unless they're working together? What if he doesn't care? What if he knows that she's the traitor and might be acting out in hopes that she'll survive? If two people die, then Kishi would win automatically. If she were the traitor, is this just some complicated plot to convince me to execute Richard and Zeph? No, that's still too complicated. If they wanted to do something like that, then they wouldn't have needed this complicated plot. In fact, all Zeph would have to do is investigate the study with Richard and then lock the door behind them. That'd break the rules and cause both of them to die. Then Kishi would win by default. So it can't be that. But then what is it? Also, why did Richard seem so surprised when Kishi read aloud Zeph's symbol? He didn't look like he was lying, but the fact of the matter is what he told Zeph earlier was wrong. And there's no reason to lie about a symbol, especially considering that it would out yourself as a liar and likely a traitor. But he didn't backpedal. He didn't say he was mistaken, and he looked more confused than anything. So what happened? Did Zeph's symbol really change since Richard last saw it? And if that's the case, then it's really messed up. Zeph would have died, and Richard would have definitely been suspected as a traitor. Who does that help? If the traitor is Kishi, then that would certainly make sense. We'd likely team up against Richard and not tell him the symbol, and chances are he'd die, which would lead Kishi to winning. But if that's the truth, then how does Kishi change the symbol? That is assuming that she can change other people's symbols at all. I mean, if she could, and she wanted to win, she could have just lied about my symbol or changed mine, right? Now, clearly, that didn't happen. Plus, the only reason that Richard and Zeph asked for someone to check the symbols again was because of the fight. If Richard didn't ask for one of us to check, then we probably wouldn't have done so. Then what the hell is all this for? What's the point of all these mysteries? I can't see anything making sense. There's too much confusion, too many oddities, too many weird things in general. I just can't figure out the motive here. What does the traitor want to do right here? It's like they're just creating chaos for the sake of creating chaos. Does that get them anywhere? Wait, maybe something I hadn't thought of earlier could just be expanded. With all this chaos, our thoughts have been scrambled. We're looking for answers, looking for an explanation. The traitor is doing all these weird things not because they want to get away with it. Maybe it's because they want to get caught. And if they're caught, then they'll be confronted. And if they're confronted in just the right way, then... Alright everyone, that's the end of round 2. You're all free to exit now. Looks like I'm out of time. As much as I want to think this through more, I'll have to give my thoughts now. Time to end this. I waited for everyone to gather back in the hall. And soon enough, each and every one of them left the nearby rooms and gathered around me. Well, it looks like we made it through the second round at least. Just barely. If you two hadn't come to check on me, I'd be a goner for sure. Don't try and blame this on me. Well, who else would I blame it on? Stop, I don't want to hear any more arguments from you two right now. Everyone stood to attention, clearly surprised at my assertive attitude. Look, we're going to nip this in the bud right now. I'm nearly certain that I know who the traitor is and what their goal is. Seriously? Well, it should be obvious that it's you. I was going to say the same thing to you, jackass. What did I just say about arguing? The two groaned, but then let me continue. The floor is all yours, Devon. Thank you. Alright, well, let's do this. All I have to do is name the traitor and everything else will fall into place afterwards. The traitor, oh my god, I have to guess. Honestly, I think it's Kishi. But that's just a gut feeling. I haven't got any real reason behind it. Fuck it, let's try it. Kishi, you're the traitor. She seemed utterly surprised by my accusation, so much so that she didn't respond for a second. Can I ask what makes you think that? Well, aside from Zeph, you're the only person that was on the first floor. If Zeph says he saw someone right before he went into his room on the first round, it was most likely you. Since Richard was on the second floor and Zeph saw me go into my room, there's literally only one other person it could be. That's assuming Zeph is telling the truth. You think I'm lying, babe? Possibly, but let's entertain the thought for a bit and say that in fact Zeph did see me. Are you going to suggest I painted the walls and floors with the fake blood we found then? That's the natural conclusion to come to. Makes sense, I'd even agree that I probably had the opportunity to go and hide the materials away since I was on the first floor. It'd be pretty tight timing wise, but possible, I'll admit that much. You're unusually calm for someone being accused of being a traitor. I figured you'd put up more of a fight. Well, I'm just humouring the idea. The whole scenario relies on the fact that Zeph is in fact telling the truth and isn't lying out of his ass, which he is, but it's just his word against mine. My refutation really comes in the form that Zeph is just as capable of doing all this, and I'd argue that he had a better opportunity to do so than me. Everything you can put the blame on me for fits him just as well, so I'd ask what specifically about me makes me more likely to be the traitor. Keep in mind that you did spend some time with me earlier in the round, while Zeph was completely unaccounted for. If you're using Zeph's testimony that he saw something as proof, as sketchy as it is, then I'd say it's shaky grounds to call me a traitor. That's, not to mention I'm really sure what I get out of... I'm not really sure what I'd get out of splattering a bunch of fake blood on the walls. Well, because of that we ended up splitting up as pairs. That's true, but what of it? It's not like we did anything special because of it, you know? We looked around the kitchen and ended up fighting fake blood. And other than that, not much else. Well, it's not so much as it is... Not so much you as it is your boyfriend. Huh? Because we were split up, you were able to let Zeph run wild. I don't really get what you're implying here. Are you saying that as a traitor I wanted to get Zeph to pair up and assault someone? What do I even get out of that? More importantly, what does Zeph get out of that? You must have convinced him to let you live as the traitor, and in order to do that, you need to make him suspicious. Well, for starters, Zeph's not suicidal. He's not going to give up his life just because I asked him to. Secondly, if I was the traitor and somehow I managed to get Zeph to agree to net me a win, all he'd have to do is lie to Richard about his symbol. Then I'd do the same for you. 2 deaths and then I'd win. Easy as pie, isn't it? That's starting to look pointless. I felt the steam in my voice die down. Things weren't quite matching up as well as I'd hoped. Maybe I'm not quite right about this. Kishi simply shrugged as if my accusations accounted to something of a small irritant and nothing to get flustered over. Well, it was an honest attempt, but we might have to try a little harder to figure things out. Maybe we could try another room. I need a place to sit down. My head is still throbbing and it's hard to think standing up. Well, we can go into the study and try and think things through there. Yeah, sounds good to me. If it gets us to the truth. We all walked inside of the study together and I looked for a seat to collect my thoughts. What was I missing? Where did I go wrong? I looked over at the others as they entered into the room and tried to puzzle things out properly. But instead I realized just how dangerous a situation this was. Shit, we gotta get out of here. But it was too late. The real traitor, well, they got the situation they wanted. And with a quick lock of the door, all of our collars gave an ever familiar and ominous beep. A bloody explosion. Not that I could perceive it, as I was now headless. We all were. But that was the point, wasn't it? To sow so much chaos that we'd have to come together, to think, to solve in a room where we could all die together. And the traitor would be able to simply get everyone all at once and win through a technicality. Clever play, honestly. But I didn't have time to fawn over the plot. I was going to simply let oblivion take my thoughts once again. Bad end. Convoluted chaos causes cranial cataclysm. Well, I guess we better jump back in there. Zeph. Zeph, you're the traitor. Oh, come on, are you serious? Deadly serious. I'm near certain that you're the traitor. The obvious one, I guess. Well, let's hear it then. What's your argument? You think that just because I'm concussed that I can't argue for myself? I cracked my knuckles and gave him a stern glare. I wasn't going to be intimidated by whatever came out of his mouth. Alright then, let's start at the beginning, shall we? Thinking back on it, I remember that you were the only person I saw in the foyer around the end of the first round. I never saw Kishi or Richard around the area. You were the person who suggested which rooms we end up using. I'm also pretty sure that I would have noticed if anyone was walking by in the hallway. You didn't even mention it until after the first round had ended. You didn't wave, call, or do anything to indicate that someone was around. That's not proof of anything. Maybe I just wasn't interested in seeing whoever it was. Still could have been Richard or Kishi for that matter. I don't think so, because I think you're most likely the person to have made the fake blood in the first place. Why is that? Just because I was in the kitchen for most of the first round? I mean, yeah. No one really knows what you were doing, but you admitted yourself that you were in the kitchen, and all the ingredients needed to make fake blood was there also. I was making cookies. You can't even deny that part, can you? You saw them for yourself. You're right, we did see them, but that's the problem, isn't it? Huh? How's it a problem? Zeph, let's think for a moment. You're making cookies in the kitchen. You put them in the oven. You put the rest of your utensils and such in the sink. Then you leave. Or so you claim, anyway. Yeah, I did. Someone could have walked in afterwards and started making fake blood. Yeah, but if someone walked into the kitchen and saw an oven was on, you think they'd risk making fake blood? What if the baker came back and saw what they were doing? That seems awfully risky, don't you think? That's... Zeph faltered for a bit and then reassured himself with a shake of the head. That just means that they took everything they needed and mixed it somewhere else. Sure, Zeph. It's possible that someone walked in, quickly put things in a bowl, the same type of mixing bowl that was used for your cookies, mind you, and ran off. Or we could take a simpler solution that you both made things at the same time. You made both things at the same time, sorry. I also find it a bit interesting that you happen to make cookies at all. So baking's a crime now. I didn't say that, but you have to admit I gave you a real nice excuse to go straight to the foyer after the round ended. So what? You want me to burn down Belle's mansion or something? I'm saying that you prepared yourself an escape so that you could move your precious blood bowl somewhere else. I'm willing to bet that you had hid it in your room the whole time. After all, you were right across from me. You probably had it hidden in your room and just waited for someone to come by so you could suggest the room right across from yours. Then after they locked their doors, you'd go and paint up a bunch of fake words and fake blood and hide the bowl back in your room. After the round would end, you'd make an excuse to go check the cookies you left in the kitchen, while in reality you just took the blood bowl you had and moved it to a different room. Just in case someone wanted to investigate the room you were in. You're really thinking that I went through all the trouble of making cookies so I'd have an excuse to leave without arousing suspicion? Well, it worked, didn't it? Well, yeah, you're clearly ready to pin the traitor label on me no matter what I say. It's not just that, Zeph. You've been acting strangely all game. Do we even have to go over the strange fight that you and Richard got into? I told you already, he hit me with a book and then shoved me down the stairs. That absolutely did not happen. The issue is I can't really tell. My gut says Zeph started it and then faked his own injuries, but I'm not a medical professional, so I wouldn't know who really started the fight. But that's not what's important. Isn't it? It shows that he's the traitor. And I can say the same argument against you. Look, I already told you. I don't know how I'll be able to tell the difference between who's lying. The real issue is, why did the fight happen at all? There's no reason for either of you would want to start a fight, even if you suspected the other person was a traitor. After all you'd have to do is lie about what symbol they had. Fighting risks your own life if you accidentally knock someone out. So what's the real reason behind the fight? I got no idea. Yeah, spell it out for us. It's for the same reason that the bloody words were made. It was just to cause a scene and sow confusion. Huh? That's all? And here I thought you were going to come with some huge breakthrough or something. It's quite a big breakthrough because it reveals what the traitor's plans are. Does it now? Kishi finally spoke up, maybe getting interested in finally understanding what all this madness actually meant. It does. For starters, let me ask, why do you think the traitor painted the words with blood? To spook you? To make us not trust one another? Both of those? Not quite. It was to make us split up. Split up? Right, the result of the whole bloody words was that we needed to split up to find evidence. And that ended up with two groups on two different floors. Okay, and that's important because after splitting up, we did manage to find evidence. I imagine that our culprit knew that eventually it would be found with time. In fact, that's what they were hoping for. So you're saying the traitor wanted to be found out? Yeah, that seems a little off, doesn't it? It does seem a little off, but they have a good reason, and I'll tell it. But I just have one more detail to go over. Remember how I said the fight was meant to draw our attention? Right. Kishi and I were drawn over to Zeph after he fell down the stairs, and then we were confused about everything that happened between Richard and Zeph. More confusion, more questions, and along with that, we have our own findings and ideas of how things went down. And the cherry on top is a revelation that Richard lied about Zeph's symbol. I didn't lie about it. Right, you didn't lie about it. But how were we to know? It was just another mystery, and before we could resolve anything, the round was ended. But now everything is clear, and I can finally explain the truth. Go on, we're waiting. Not here, though. What do you mean, not here? The most important piece of evidence should be in the study where the fight happened. If we all go there, it'll be crystal clear what happened. You think there's evidence in there? I'm sure of it. So you're willing to see the truth? Well, if it gets us through this mess, then sure. I'm fine with it. Zeph seemed the most apprehensive as he was eyeing me suspiciously. Come on, take the bait. Fine, but if this doesn't go anywhere, just know that you've wasted a ton of our time. We got nothing else to do. Don't worry, everything will make sense. I tried to hold my breath. I didn't want to breathe a sigh of relief too soon. As we walked toward the study, I whispered a quick message to Richard. Huh? I put a finger to my lip and watched as he made a nervous nod. Don't blow this, Richard. Alright, we're here. Zeph stood by the door leading to the study. Ladies first. Good to know you've still got some manners despite the head injury. Kishi walked in first and Zeph looked expectantly at me. And without waiting, I walked inside the study, standing close toward the door. This was it. Alright, let's see how things... And on cue, Richard grabbed Zeph with both hands and shoved him into the study. Hey, what the... Before he could react, I grabbed his arm and with all my strength, tossed him as far as I could from the door. Ow, let go! He stumbled onto his ass, and by that time it was too late. Richard slammed the door, staying outside in the hallway while I rushed toward the door. Don't make a move, Zeph, or I'll lock the door. But that'll kill us. It will, but it'll kill Zeph. That's the important part. Let's not do anything drastic. You don't know if Richard is the traitor or not. Actually, I do know. And frankly, the game's already over, Zeph. My hand was already on the lock. A simple twist and the game would be over. Whether you admit it or not, I'm going to lock all three of us in here, and that'll be the end of the game. He grimaced and hissed out a stream of air through his teeth. He knew that he was done, and all he could do was glare at me with anger. And then after a quick flare of anger, his shoulders sagged and his eyes softened. Well, that's it then. Game over. Huh? I figured he'd be a bit more combative. He just looks defeated. How'd you know? Wait, it's true? Yeah, she got it. I mean, Zeph, it wasn't that hard. The simplest solution was you were fucking around trying to make us figure out what the fuck was going on. And once we had an idea, you were going to make us talk it out in one of the rooms. You did all that just to get us in one room? Well, I figured that with my injuries, I could make an excuse to go into a room, or I could just ask for us all to inspect a single room. Obviously, I couldn't do that without having something to investigate. Bloody words, a random fight, something to get you all hyped up. Otherwise, I'm sure that one of you would have just stayed out and figured it was a trap. Kind of impressive for you to try and think of something that clever. Hey, I'm a smart guy. Kishi walked over to Zeph, taking a seat right beside him, wrapping her arm around his shoulder. I didn't say you weren't smart, I just said it was impressive. So how'd you do it? Do what? Don't play coy. I mean, how'd you change your collar? Obviously you found a way since Richard was so surprised. Some secrets are going to the grave. Not like it matters, right? You're such a tease, you know that? What's it matter? I'm a dead man, aren't I? She simply gave him a kiss on the cheek and held him tight. I watched as Kishi held Zeph close, as if trying to comfort him from his inevitable death. Zeph seemed to appreciate it, though. Of course, he was still sour over the whole ordeal. Just looking at them reminded me of what Clyde said to me back before he died. I'm surprised. About what? You two were so calm. I figured you'd be fighting or yelling or crying about losing one another, but you're amazingly relaxed about the whole thing. It's just kind of weird. Especially since you two are dating, I imagine that you'd care at least a little bit about one another. More waterworks, more something. Is that how it was with you and Clyde? I mean, she was there. What do you think? It's not that we don't have strong emotions or anything. I guess it's more like we've already gone through it before. We've been in worse patches than this, cried, screamed, and fought over more serious stuff. Maybe by comparison, this doesn't feel so bad. Still, she leaned against Zeph, resting her head on his shoulders. It's never pleasant knowing he's going to be hurt or that he's going to die. Hey, you don't have to say all that stuff to make me feel better. I lost. It was bound to happen. Well, it's not like you. You're not the type to call it quits. Well, no, but I mean literally, you can't win all the time. If I did, then, well, frankly, I'm not sure how we'd get out of this mess aside from some miracle. His words confused me. They didn't make any sense. If he won every game, he'd just be able to get his wish and leave. Or is there more to it than that? A familiar sensation flooded my head again, like when I felt that dread from the second game. Except this time, it was relief or maybe acceptance, like Zeph's words were simply the truth. even if I didn't understand how that was the case. Well, it's like you said, Zeph. You can't win them all. Devon. Yeah? If you don't mind, can I be the one to lock the door? It could be just me and Zeph. You sure? Yeah, I mean, no point making you suffer if you don't have to. It's true, I'd rather not have my head explode. And you know, it feels right to have this final private moment with him. Sure, that makes sense. Just don't let him pull a fast one on you. Don't worry. Even if he tried, it's not like we won't be able to catch him later anyway. Right, at this point he doesn't have any outs. I left the room and simply closed the door behind me. And with that, we're going to wrap this one up here because we're out of time for this episode. But it looks like this game is over. We caught him. Zeph is the traitor, the one that was the most obvious culprit, turned out to be the one. That's always the least one. Like, the one that's the most obvious is the one you pick last. You know? So. Occam's razor. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, Bruce.